Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for our preview and predict 11 post live stream ahead of Chelsea versus Crystal Palace in the FA Cup semi-final. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, we literally just now finished the Liverpool versus Manchester City FA Cup semi-final, which Liverpool won 3-2 after being 3-0 up and then nearly bottling it. It's almost like they watched us against Madrid. It's a bit weird. But City obviously having an absolute stinker. I mean, you could argue with team selection. And then also their second choice goalkeeper, Zach Steffen. Couldn't really have screwed up much more than he did. We are still waiting for VJ. He is supposed to turn up. If not, don't know. But he said he would. So I hope he turns up at some point, hopefully soon. But yeah, there's not that many things surrounding Chelsea to discuss today, actually, because obviously we had the stream yesterday. But there's only a couple of minor things which I would like to ask Pice about. And then we'll see whether that's something relevant to talk about for 2 minutes. Or whether we'll just move on straight away. But Pice, I will start with you, not straight away with that question, but if we are to win tomorrow, Liverpool in the final, we've got some unfinished business with them at Wembley, don't we? But are we still? Did you always prefer Liverpool to be the potential final opponent?
Yeah, I did. I put a tweet out when they drew them actually, and I was like, if we get to the final, I want us to face Liverpool because I still think the amount of chances we had in the Carabao Cup final against them, I feel like we can expose their high line 100%. Like even today, Man City got 2 goals back in the second half. Like obviously Liverpool have a world-class attack and a great midfield, and even the defense on paper, very, very good individuals. But I just feel like the way they play could suit us more than Man City personally. I don't know. Even though they won today, I still think they're worse than Man City if everyone's full strength. Not by much, but I do think we have a better chance against Liverpool. And I think that motivation factor, if we win tomorrow, like this is our revenge against them. It's round 2, just in the other cup. So obviously, not thinking too far ahead,
Cup as well.
Yeah, bigger cup. So you'd like to think the players would be like, right, we want to right some wrongs this time. But obviously tomorrow's a massive game, and one thing I'm wary of is definitely underestimating Crystal Palace. They're gonna this is a big occasion for them, and they're gonna give a good fight, I'm sure.
Well, we're coming on the back of nearly, pulling off a miracle at the Bernabeu and then playing Crystal Palace. So for us, it's probably a bit of an anti-climax. Well, for them, this is the biggest game they've had in, I don't know, probably since the last time they got promoted. I would presume. I mean, I'm not an expert on Crystal Palace in that sense, so I wouldn't know if I'm being totally honest with you. But at least they don't have Conor Gallagher, a debate which we will get into a little bit later on, although depending on your opinions, might be quite a short debate. Con, same as for Pice. Thank you very much for joining us. Similar question as I just put to Pice as well. Was it Liverpool that you preferred in the final? Or obviously we shouldn't speak too soon because obviously we still have to get past Crystal Palace. But say we do. Is that kind of revenge type feeling? Would you prefer for the final, or was it kind of City? I mean, at least we did beat City in a final pretty much a year ago on the day whenever that FA Cup final will take place.
Yeah, I wanted Liverpool as well. There's just something inside me it's just uneasy because we haven't beaten this season. I felt like every time we've played them, we've looked better and we haven't come away with the win. So I wanted Liverpool again. I'm not overlooking Crystal Palace. It's always been an if we can beat Palace, I'd prefer Liverpool. It's never been, I want Liverpool, So I'm not stupid. I'm not overlooking Palace at all. But yeah, I think Liverpool this season anyway has been a better matchup for us than City has. Against City, we've looked poor twice. Against Liverpool, we've looked really good, So just stylistically, I think Liverpool's the better matchup for us. And it was a good game today. But once again, they show they can concede goals. Man City looked really off it, and they still managed to score 2. It just depends how we take that Real Madrid situation. Either the boys take it on the chin and like we almost did it, and it kicks them off for the rest of the season, and it comes sort of a scroll for them, like a bit of a stroll, sorry. Or it's a bit deflating, and I hope it's not the latter.
Yeah, no, actually, it's a good point to make because I think Thomas Tuchel was also asked that question yesterday on Friday, actually, in the pre-match press conference for some reason at 9:30. But anyway, he was asked that as well, whether it is because let's not forget, as much as we were knocked out, we won on the night. So if you look at that by itself, if you kind of take that out of the bigger picture and just look at that, amazing, brilliant. Like, yeah, sure, 3-0 up and then you only won 3-2, but that's what Liverpool did today. I'm pretty sure they won't be crying whether they won 3-0 or 3-2. It doesn't really matter. They're in the final now. So on the basis of that, it's obviously, it can be, it should be a huge, huge confidence boost. But then obviously, like you just touched on, you have that kind of contrast or complete opposite of the fact that even that performance wasn't enough because of how much we bottled it the week before, essentially. So it's a weird one to look at, really. I mean, Con, you said it there, you hope that the players take it the right way, but do you think they will?
I hope so. Because it must be so deflating almost doing it, you know. I was deflated and I'm just a fan. So imagine the players are actually on the pitch. It must have hurt. They were so close to doing it. But, you know, they still did us proud. And I hope they know that, you know, the fan base is happy with them. Like, we're extremely proud of them. And, you know, FA Cup's the last chance we've really got to win a cup. And I hope they see it like that too. I think putting wrongs right, and the FA Cup's one of them, you know, because I don't want to lose another FA Cup final or even get knocked out of a semi-final, you know. I want this cup.
No, man, I could not agree more. I mean, haven't we lost our last 4 finals at Wembley, if you include the Community Shield? I think so. Obviously, and if you take the Community Shield out of it, it's still 3 in a row. Like the Carabao Cup final this year, the FA Cup final last year, the FA Cup final under Frank Lampard. Obviously, we won the FA Cup final 2018, but then we were reigning FA Cup champions and lost the Community Shield. So that, if you include that, that's 4 FA Cup, 4 Wembley final losses in a row. Sure, we always win the semis, which is good for tomorrow, I guess. But yeah, it's not great when you look at it that way. Pice, similar question. Do you back the players into taking the positives out of that Real Madrid situation, or do you fear that the fact that we were knocked out could be the overriding, I don't know, emotion, I suppose?
I don't know. It's hard to tell. I think sort of the first 20, 30 minutes of tomorrow will tell. Really, as you kind of said, Conor, it either goes 2 ways. It's, you know, one of you said it either goes 2 ways. Like, we're going to use this as motivation. The Real Madrid result, this is our last trophy we can win, or, you know, maybe the players are a bit tired, even though it's been quite a few days rest now. Maybe they, you know, underestimate Palace. I'd hope not, but I kind of thought that's how we fought in the Leicester game in the final, and that's the reason why we lost that game. So, yeah, we'll see. I don't know. It's Chelsea. You don't know what you're going to get a lot of the time, so I'm kind of looking forward to it because I want to see what we're going to perform like after, obviously, that heartbreak. I think, if I had to say, I think we will use it as motivation and fuel because this is the last trophy. So I think that's what will happen. I hope so anyway, because otherwise it's not going to be good.
No, exactly. I mean, I do agree. It's a weird one as well because it is the last trophy available for us to win this season, but we've already won 2 trophies this season. And the last one was, when was that Club World Cup? Was it February? Was it January? Like, it's not actually that long ago. But obviously it's kind of different because both of these trophies we kind of qualified ourselves for kind of last season. So even though we won them this season, it almost, at least in my head, I'm not sure how it is for you guys, it's almost like those trophies kind of came last season. And obviously Lukaku, we signed this summer, scored, you know, in and around you know, or scored in the Club World Cup tournament. I think he saw in the semi-final as well, didn't he? So obviously it is this season, but in a way, it, to me, still kind of feels like it was a last season thing. So if we want to at least finish the season off well, of course, with certain teams from North London bottling everything, you know, that they get their hands on, which is quite hilarious. That puts top 4 in a much more comfortable position again than we thought it might be, even just 2 weeks ago, really. So that helps. But we still want to finish the season off well, don't we? So we have to make sure we turn up tomorrow. Obviously, we got lucky with the draw. I mean, the other two options we had other than Palace was Liverpool and City. So we certainly got the most favourable draw by far, even if, obviously, like Pice mentioned, Palace will be right up for it. VJ has thankfully finally joined us. Thank you for joining us, VJ. How are you feeling? Did you get to watch any of that Liverpool City game?
I did not. I was quite busy at the work, so I was not able to watch that game. But I did follow the scoreline, 2-2 apparently. I heard that game was really good, like very equally matched teams, I believe. But what I wanted to actually tell you is I got confused with the time. I thought 11 IST was the time that I had to be here. I didn't.
And what
I
time
got my
is it?
timing
Your
wrong
time
again.
now?
It's 10 now. It's 10:15 or something. Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a bit of a stinker because when I messaged you when to come on, I thought the game was at a different time, and I thought it was 4:30 UK time to kick off for the Liverpool City game, but it was 4:30 my time. So then I told you an hour later. Then I was like, no, actually we need to do an hour earlier. But then obviously the time difference to India again, it's a whole mess. But here we are.
Yeah.
You know, who cares in the end?
Apologies again.
All good, mate. All good. But similar question to what I asked Pice and Con before, of course, you joined. Confident ahead of tomorrow, how do you reckon the team will kind of move on from that Real Madrid heartbreak, I suppose? Because like I said already a few minutes ago, of course, on the day we won, and there's not many bigger things than winning away in the Champions League at the Santiago Bernabeu. So do you believe that the team will be able to take confidence out of that? Or do you think that the fact that we still got knocked out will kind of put a down on things more than confidence will be able to take out of the win, I guess?
I think we started bouncing back right after the Brentford game. From there, the Southampton game and then this one, Real Madrid game, I think we started performing a lot better. I don't think so. Our players should have their heads dropped down after one such performance at Santiago Bernabeu. Of course, winning at Real Madrid isn't an easy job. And there's not a lot of team that can be as proud as Chelsea in the way that we lost the tie, actually. So I don't think so we would have that much of an impact, but definitely that is a bit of a heartbreak for the players for putting everything in the game and then not getting the result that they would have probably thought they deserved. So yes, there is a bit of a heartbreak involved, but I think Chelsea have already bounced back and they are right in form now, the best form that they can be in to play in a semi-finals FA Cup.
Exactly. I mean, I hope so. I hope you're right, really. Pice, I touched on it already a few minutes ago where I said there's a little bit of news around the whole Chelsea takeover situation. Donny, forgot his name again, who apparently used to be Chancellor in the UK. That was the first I ever heard of the UK even having something like a Chancellor. I thought that was a German and Austrian thing. We have Chancellors and you have Prime Ministers. But apparently you have a Chancellor as well. And some former Chancellor is now somehow involved in Todd Bowley's bid to buy Chelsea. Do you have any idea how exactly he's involved and what exactly he's here for?
So he's overseen, is that the right word? Overseen a couple of big sales, I think, before. And he is a Chelsea season ticket holder as well, which is quite interesting. Not that that changes difference, but still quite interesting. I didn't really know we had a chancellor or whatever, but also in this Sky News article, it said that he's a close friend of Daniel Finkelstein, who's obviously a part of the Bowley bid. So I'm guessing he's been brought in and he's working alongside the other advisory group. I think it's Goldman, to try and get the deal through for Todd Bowley. So yeah, I think this is quite common. A lot of them have been. I don't know. I don't actually know what they advise. Like, is it like just try and big their bid up or something? Like, I don't know what their role is. It's like to try and help them secure the takeover. Like, it's a weird one, isn't it? Like, I don't really understand, but yeah.
My only assumption would be that because obviously, of course, what's his face? Goldstein is based in the UK anyway, but because obviously Bowley is doing the whole thing out of the US, and then obviously Mark Walter as well. Maybe they just wanted to get more feet on the ground actually in the UK and have a few more like people that they have closer ties to. Maybe that's the only logical thing I can think of, that they just want to make sure they have a few, I don't know, people on the ground as well and not having to do so many things from overseas, I guess.
If I may add just one thing to it.
Go on.
Usually what happens with these advisory groups is that, I work in an advisory group. So when we kind of do a mergers and acquisition, it's more of an M&A, this one. So you are in essence doing an acquisition, correct? So when you do an acquisition, you have to get certain things ready. Like two companies are merging, one company is acquiring the other. The way that you acquire the company ranges from how you transform the organization once you have acquired it. How do you bring that account into your subsidiary? Like you make it your subsidiary or anything you want to make it, right? So how do you complete that transfer? Right, that in essence is what these guys take care of. The M&A part of it, the Goldman Sachs, the Deloittes, the PwCs, KPMGs, they all get involved in this one, and they get paid huge amount of money. It's called advisory consulting, and that's exactly what they do. And I think Goldman is one such group. And this guy apparently seems to be in the same category.
Could well be the case. I mean, Con, I'd love to ask you as well about it, but I'm sure you know no more than I or Pies, or well, I guess VJ knew a little bit about it, and so did Pies. But I guess you probably don't know any more than I do. So there's not much of an opinion to have, is there? We'll just, I don't know, wait and see if that person is relevant. What I found very intriguing is how the media on Friday, like I said yesterday in Tuchel's press conference, tried to make this whole big deal about, now one of the directors at Chelsea has been sanctioned, obviously in Eugene Tenenbaum, which we spoke about yesterday already. By the way, which we should have mentioned yesterday, but didn't. It's also born in the Ukraine, which is, I'm not sure if funny is the right word, but kind of, I don't know. Yeah, no, I'm going to call it funny. It's a bit weird. But anyway, and obviously the media tried to make it this whole drama. Oh, is everything distracted again now? Is everything awful at Chelsea again now? And Tuchel's like, well, actually, it's just really the same thing. It's just another bit of drama in the same whole big thing that we've already been dealing with since 2 months at this point. So it hasn't really changed much. Just to get a bit of structure in my head about when we talk about which things, I do actually. Obviously, we'll talk about it when we get to the team in more detail. Does he start or not? But I think the biggest. Maybe I'm wrong, but at least from what I've gathered from especially Twitter, the biggest kind of topic within the Chelsea fan base at the moment, after obviously the Real Madrid game, seems ironic is probably the better word than funny. Yeah, thanks, Cranky Pants. Is probably whether Timo Werner is now actually kind of good or whether he's actually really bad. Because obviously his last two performances were pretty good, but especially in terms of output, in terms of goal contributions, very good. And now obviously the question is, well, does he keep starting? Does he not? What happens to Pulisic, who came on against Madrid and was kind of bad, even though I think having watched it back, I think we were maybe all a bit too critical of the two chances he missed, if I'm being perfectly honest. But, maybe that's a discussion for another day. Or maybe it isn't. But still, the fact that this Timo Werner debate discussion has come on again is it's a bit weird because, and I've said it yesterday when RD mentioned something in the chat, it's just about form, really, because I'm never going to go away from, not never. There's a small little bit of a door open still for him to change my mind on that, but it's very unlikely he will change that. Timo Werner, in my head, is not a very good footballer. But what he is when he can be bothered, unlike for the last 2 weeks where he backed out of every challenge he somehow saw anywhere. The man had binoculars. As soon as he saw someone coming, he ran away from it. But last two games, bit different. Now, when he's on it in that sense and he makes his runs and he makes his movement, because sure, people will say, it was only against Southampton who play a high line, but it was also against Madrid. It didn't play a high line at all. If anything, they passed the bus more than we did in bloody Munich in 2012. Not for the whole game, mind you, but at least until we made it 3-0. They was parking that bus all they could. So it is a question to be had, I guess. I mean, for me, like I said, he's still not very good. But maybe he's still better than what else we've got. I don't know. Like it's strange because seemingly 2 performances is enough for people to change their mind. But look at him; he just has 2 less goal contributions than Kai Havertz, which may be true. And if you actually think about it, we've been praising Kai Havertz for 2 months now. None of us were talking about how great Kai Havertz has been this season until then. So, they've both just not had good enough seasons, essentially. But Kai at least is turning it up in the second half of the season so far. So that's a positive. Con, why don't I start with you? What's your opinion on all this? Like, have you seen the same as myself on Twitter, that it's just people arguing whether Timo is actually good now or whether he's still really bad?
I've seen a little bit of it. I haven't seen too much, can't lie. But it doesn't surprise me because we have such fickle and reactionary fans. From Timo Werner's time here, it's just not been good enough as a whole. I'm not going to take one and two games to say that he should stay. I still think he should leave in the summer. I'm sorry, I'm not seeing the dead touches, the horrible movement and stuff like that for like 2 games. No, for 20 games and then seeing like 2 good games. No, I'm sorry, that's a poor trade-off. If you want to win the league title, you can't have players like Timo Werner. It's as simple as that. Maybe for cup competitions, but league title, you need consistency, and Timo Werner lacks it incredibly. So for me, he's still got to go. Still like him though. I think he's a nice guy. I think back in the Bundesliga, he'll smash it. But yeah, at Chelsea, I think it's done, bro.
I do hear that for sure. Which is obviously a slightly different question now. One last kind of one to do to kind of hang on to that, I guess, because it's now April 16th. It's not quite the end of the season just yet. So while a lot of us will probably agree that it should be the end of his time at Chelsea in the summer, we still have about a month and a half to go of this season. Now, what do you reckon for the rest of the season? Has he done enough now to keep at least starting until he plays shit again? Or is in your head still the likes of Christian Pulisic ahead of him in the pecking order?
And don't get me wrong, just because I think he's done here doesn't mean if he hasn't earned the starting spot, he shouldn't get it. I think he should start because he's been playing well. No doubt in my mind, it won't be too long until he hits the bench again, but we'll see. If anything, keep starting him, get that transfer value all the way up as it can be, you know? The more good games he has, the better price we can get from him in the summer. So that's how I see it, bro. It might seem a bit rude towards Timo. I don't mean it in a mean way, but
I hear that. I hear what you're talking about. It's really difficult because, I mean, Jester said it here as well. If it's 2 strikers, maybe it's a different conversation to be had. Obviously, in the second leg against Real Madrid, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. It kind of fluctuated. It fluctuated between whole base formations, whether it was a back 3 or a back 4. I mean, there was whole debates going on Twitter between people. Is there a back 4? Is there a back 3? To me, it was mainly a back 3. Now, my whole argument is no main formation is ever looked at when you're in possession, because in possession, we're playing a whole different formation anyway. I can get it up on screen later, but it's basically Thiago Silva, if he plays, is the lone central centre-back. So we play a 1, then we'll play a 2 of the 2 wide centre-backs, then a 2 of the 2 centre-mids, then a 2 of either the wing-backs or the 2 10s, and then a 3 of strikers, and again, either the 2 10s or the wing-back. So we kind of play a 1, 2, 2, 3. Kind of. Do you know what I mean? Did I miss someone out there? Maybe. But you get what I'm trying to say. On the ball, you can never take formations as this is what you play. No. It's always off the ball. That's the main thing, because that's when you're actually shaped in a structure. On the ball is where you're supposed to be moving around and making it difficult for the opponent. If it's super easy to tell your formation on the ball, then you're playing badly anyway, because then there's clearly not enough movement. But is the 2-striker, not 2-striker debate enough, Pice, for you to say that's when Timo starts and that's when he doesn't? And has he changed your mind with 2 games, or are you still of the opinion that he's just not good enough? He just had 2 good games and that's it.
I do think some of our fans have been slightly reactionary. I do think it's probably best for all parties that he leaves in the summer, but more so on the same boat as Conor at the moment, where he's a very heavy confidence player, and I think while he's playing well, because let's not kid ourselves, everyone thought he'd drop a stinker against Real Madrid. We played a lot of possession that game, and he was actually decent on the ball. He was actually all right. He did actually look quite confident. I remember one of the early runs where he tried to go into the box and make something happen. I haven't seen that from Werner in months. Usually he just gets the ball, pass it back, or pass some moves, he does seem more confident at the moment. So again, I think with the team we're playing tomorrow, Crystal Palace, yeah, they'll try and defend, but obviously, as I keep saying, it's a big occasion for them. They're going to want to try and beat us, so they're not going to. I don't think they'll play it like a Premier League game where they just sit back. They're going to try and come for us. So I do think there's a debate for him starting tomorrow. I do, and for the foreseeable future. But for me, it depends on the opponent we play. And also other options at the moment, right? If Werner's playing on the left-hand side, but I hate this as well. It's not. We don't strictly play wingers; they're inside forwards. So even if it is Pulisic, Werner,
unless we play a 4-1-4-1 or 4-3-3, then
yeah, I'm more talking about the 3 at the back, but they are close to Havertz, and I think the results don't lie. When we play Werner, Havertz, Mount, our results have been really good. That was the main front 3 we used in the Champions League when we won it. So it's probably not what the fans would choose, but results-wise, I'm pretty sure I saw something the other day. We've got like a very good record when they start together. So I don't know if it's effective and it works. Then keep playing it. What's the reason to change it? We all talk about how much of a confidence player Werner is. So while he's on good form and he's actually enjoying himself, play him. And then when he drops a stinker, drop him. It's as simple as that. I don't think Pulisic deserves to start at the moment, personally. I don't think he's shown enough. And who else have we got? I mean, you play Ziyech on the left, maybe Mount, but they're not natural left-sided players.
Hudson-Odoi's been injured.
And Hudson-Odoi's injured. So what do? It's Werner or Pulisic right now. Take a pick,
Yeah, I mean, I guess it is kind of Werner, Pulisic, or Ziyech, because when you throw Ziyech in that conversation, you can just put Mount on the other side, I guess, and then it becomes valid again. So it may be between those three, but still, essentially, it's between those two. Do you remember, Pies? Did Werner start the FA Cup final against Leicester last year? I can't remember if he did.
Yeah, I think he did actually. He played up front. I'm pretty sure. I think it was Ziyech, Werner, and Mount. I'm 100% sure. I'll just double check.
You go check that, and you just shout us when you found out. I'll go to VJ. What are your thoughts? Obviously, I haven't spoken to you in detail in a couple of weeks. So what are your thoughts on just how Timo Werner's doing? Because like I said, I'm probably very unlikely to ever go away from his opinion. Like I said, there's still a little space in that door not quite being closed on me forever giving up on him. Because, hey, football has changed. Things happen in life that he all of a sudden could be messy. Unlikely, but you never know. Crazy things have happened, I guess. But to me, he's just not it. But the last two games were good. So where do you kind of sit in this kind of discussion, BJ? Is he a good player for you? Or is it just like, when he's in good form, try to make use of it, but otherwise it's it? Because it's weird, because last season, think back to all of us, I presume all three of us, or four of us, agreed that we were probably all at some point last season saying, yeah, Werner is bad, but at least with him, we create chances. Now, we've kind of gone away from that this season. Number one, because he's played less, so there was less basis of that. Also, whenever he did play, it was against less oppositions in the Cup or in the Premier League. Whenever he did, he just wasn't very good. But looking at the Southampton and the Real Madrid game, you could argue maybe that is still the case. Because name me two games other than Southampton and Real Madrid where we created anywhere near this many chances. The one other one to mention is maybe the Cup final against Liverpool, actually, in which Werner didn't start. But still, there's not many games in which we've created this many chances without Timo Werner. So maybe on the basis of that, he's better, even though he's actually also bad, if that makes sense. So, VJ, what's your thoughts on Timo Werner and kind of the current discussion, I suppose?
Firstly, I think a lot of people in the chat are confirming that Werner was playing in that final FA Cup and he did play off the team. So that's one thing. But yeah, coming to this point, right? Timo Werner, he's again one of my favorite players in the way that he came into Chelsea, the way that he, his off-field, stuffs are really interesting. But when it comes to the field, I don't think so. He's got that capability or let me put it this way, right? He doesn't have that technical attribute to actually be a Chelsea striker, is what I personally think. It might, be a bit harsh on him, but then, I kind of understood that Bundesliga is something entirely different from the way that Timo Werner was playing here and back then, when he was playing in Bundesliga, because the spaces that he was able to generate in Bundesliga, which he was not apparently able to do here, that's probably what is causing his issue. And we last time, when I say last time, or the last year, when we spoke about Timo Werner, we often referred to him in terms of work rate, right? His work rate is what first of all comes to our mind. And what lacked this time was he did not go for those 50-50s as well. Like initially, he at least did that, and he was kind of helping us press a bit better in the previous season, which apparently he did not do in this season. Again, you're saying that Southampton game is the game that we created a lot of chances, and maybe Timo Werner was the reason for that. But what if Southampton got it entirely wrong, right? Tactically, I mean. So it could be a one-off game where, the tactics went entirely haywire for Southampton and we kind of exploited it, and Timo Werner happened to be in that right place at the right time, right? It could also be the scenario. So I'm not really going to be attributing that entire success. Like Timo Werner against Southampton, he's had a pretty good record as well. So not taking anything out of Timo Werner, success against Southampton, but that one game is not good enough for me to tell that he is the right player for Chelsea. Maybe like how Pius and Con said, play him when he is on form, and then when he is not, prefer Pulisic, because end of the day he is someone who is valued at 270 K a week. So he needs to be sold. For that, at least we need to show a few good performance. At least he needs to show a good performance so that he can be sold, because he's on higher wages, to be honest, right? So maybe these performances something that gets that just adds value to his resale value. That's pretty much it is what I think. Maybe that is what is the motivation for him right now. It could well be. So if that's the case, then why not? Then Pulisic comes in whenever he drops his form, and then we utilize Pulisic, because we don't know which of these players are going to be staying towards the end of the season. But either way, these two players have to perform so that when they go out for a good cost.
I guess so. I mean, I'm pretty confident that Pulisic will stay, because I don't think we'll be in a situation, because we need to buy so many players in with the DM, centre back, full back. I don't think we'll be in a position where we'll be buying 2+ attackers. I don't see that happening. So therefore, I also only expect one attacker to go. And I think that's a lot more likely to be Timo Werner, especially with us changing ownership to American owners. I think the likelihood of Christian Pulisic being the one that leaves, very, very slim.
Yep.
But yeah, no, I do agree in a way. Like, he's on form. Might as well use it, That's kind of my perspective on it. I mean, like I said, we'll get to our teams for the game tomorrow in a little bit, because one other thing I do need to talk about before, and Thomas Tuchel has done me a huge favor here, because he's given me the chance to make my favorite player, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, a whole massive fuck-off segment in this stream, because he gave it a whole, 4-minute waffle session, basically a whole plea. Just, it was like he was talking to Ruben personally. I'm just super disappointed that I don't know if he was asked about it, or if he just started it on his own accord. I don't know. But it's just disappointing that he decided to do so in the kind of the written media part of the press conference rather than the broadcasted part, because I would have been super intrigued in Tuchel's tone of voice in this, because obviously we see the facts from which we're going to read through together now, in case people haven't seen all of it. But you're going to get some sort of a gist of that, of course, but the tone of voice can always change certain, like, how things are meant, how things are said. But like I said, Thomas Tuchel went on a whole 4-minute, like I said, plea, just basically from what it sounded like to me, trying to get more out of Ruben Loftus-Cheek. I'm not sure if it started because I had this page open for 5 minutes. None of these things were up on screen. Now they've turned up. But anyway, on the Football London website, who, of course, did kind of basically go word for word off the press conference, which is why I went to this website to kind of read through all of the words that Thomas Tuchel said about Ruben. But as you can see from the headline, Thomas Tuchel makes Ruben Loftus-Cheek demand in passionate 4-minute message to Chelsea star. Ruben Loftus-Cheek has impressed in Chelsea's last 2 matches in an unfamiliar role as the kind of right wing back / right centre mid / right winger, whatever you want to call it, or right mid, probably better definition. And Thomas Tuchel has urged the academy graduate to believe he can consistently thrive at the top level. Now, I skipped that part out because that's just obviously added by them, by Football London. What I'm trying to focus on is literally Thomas Tuchel's quotes. We knew the player all the time, Tuchel said in this afternoon during his, well, it wasn't in the afternoon, but anyway, during his pre-match press conference ahead of Chelsea's FA Cup semi-final against Crystal Palace. The club had that Loftus-Cheek spent the 2017-18 campaign at on loan. It was so promising, but it was always like, will he have his breakthrough? Now, will he have his breakthrough? He's at a certain age now, and he's never had his breakthrough. Everybody's still waiting for the next step and the next step. So for him, it's crucial to focus on the very day he is in. It can be a huge distraction to think a week ahead, 2 weeks ahead, or a month ahead about what can be. There could have been so much more, and it does not make sense to worry because he is where he is right now. So he can't change that. We speak a lot about this. He's gifted to be here. I think when he says that, he means he's been given a gift to be here this season because he maybe didn't quite have the ability to be in the squad, but it just so happened that made the most sense. I think that's what he meant. But again, that's why it would have been nice to actually hear him say that rather than just read it. But anyway, and it is a huge, huge opportunity. He has everything that it takes. He wouldn't play, or we wouldn't count on him otherwise. But he has heard this for many years, maybe too much. He has heard this throughout the academy levels, throughout the loans. Everybody was telling him how good the potential is and how big a future there can be. But the future is only there if you live up to it in the present. He needs to trust himself. With him, it's not overconfidence. With him, it's the opposite. He needs to get confidence in his body physically and his ability to do this type of performance, not once or twice, but 3, 4, 10, 20 times. The next step is to do it for the third time in a row, because he was excellent against Southampton and added by Football London, can't talk, Real Madrid. So it's little steps. And while it may even sound like it is too little given the potential and what's all in there, and even given the performances he can produce, but it's actually not. It's the only way to grow in confidence and become the player finally that he can be. But it's in him. Tuchel at this point paused for a breath and was asked if Loftus-Cheek supposed lack of self-confidence, especially given his stature, was a surprise. He replied, self-confidence doesn't come from being big and tall and good-looking, which he is. It also comes from experience. And I still have the feeling that Ruben is maybe a bit surprised that he can do it for 105 minutes in this kind of position against Real Madrid. Now he needs to reimpose that. He can do it in training, but he needs to do it in games. It's very different in games. He lacked the stability to go out on loan and be a key player, and he lacked this history. It was not like he was the absolute key player when he was on loan at Fulham last season. And then he came back. He always shows his potential. He's a very nice guy and a quiet guy. As I say, it's not overconfidence. It's the opposite. He needs to impose it by keeping the focus, trusting himself, and pushing himself to the next game, pushing himself to the physical limit. I don't think he is fully aware of what he can produce, what he can physically give. I think he's still in the situation where he accepts limits too early, and he's used to that. And this is where we are with him, but we will keep on pushing. Hopefully he can produce the third or fourth performance and then more of these performances without also being injured, because this is also unfortunately a big part of his history. So to sum it all up, it is way too early for him to think about anything else. I'm not sure what exactly Tuchel meant by it's way too early to think about anything else. Not 1,000,000% sure. But it's very interesting. Now, number one, what makes this the most interesting to me personally, I'll just go to the top so people can just see the headline up on screen. What makes this the most interesting to me, that Thomas Tuchel clearly cares enough or thinks there is enough potential in Ruben that he even gives him, who is essentially a squad player, like a player that we've mostly used when we needed to fill places somewhere, like against Luton, he played centre back. Against Southampton, he played right wing back. It turned out that he played well, and that's why he kept his spot for Real Madrid. But he only played there because Aspie had the Rona and Reece James wasn't fit to start. That's the only reason why Ruben Loftus-Cheek played that game. So he's kind of just a makeshift player for us in a lot of positions. He kind of plays a single 6 sometimes. He plays in a double 6. We all probably still think his best position is as an 8, but that's the only position that Tuchel hasn't really used in him, which is weird. But the fact that he gave it his time of day to go on this whole 4-minute, passionate message, as they titled it, is interesting. Like, obviously people know I'm a big fan of him, and I've personally always believed in his potential. But even I've come to a point where I'm like, well, potential, we all know that. Like, I first heard and seen of Ruben Loftus-Cheek when he was 16. He's now, 25, 26? Like, it's a long time ago. And I was like, he's going to be huge. And then obviously he got to being absolutely brilliant, and then injured his Achilles. So that kind of ruined it all. Why don't I start with, I start with Con, because I'm not sure how VJ feels about Ruben. And if VJ is also negative, I want to give it like a little bit of balance. So Con, I'm not sure if you read it before, if you just heard it for the first time as I read it out. But what are your reactions to even just the fact that Tuchel gave Ruben that time of day? Because that's, if I'm being totally honest, that's the most surprising thing. All the things he said are kind of things we all kind of knew, if we're being totally honest with ourselves. But the fact that Tuchel took the time to say these things is surprising and a positive for me personally. But I just hope he can kind of take this message now and kind of take advantage of it, I guess, and make use of it and take it to heart, I suppose. But what's your thoughts on it, Con?
I think he's a manager sending a message out to the player, to be fair. I think this last part of the season's incredibly important for Loftus. I think it will decide whether he stays at Chelsea or not. And I think Tuchel's letting him know that. I think that's Tuchel's way of saying it, to be honest. So yeah, I think we all know Loftus-Cheek has ability. I don't think anyone will doubt that. But it's always been that mental side with him, isn't it? Ever since he come back from that injury, it's always been that mental side. And he's the only person holding himself back. And if he can trust his ability again, be a lot more positive. And, you know, he can, with these last remaining fixtures to the end of the season, if he's getting selected and he's playing well, you know, he could still have a future here in Tuchel's eyes. But it's down to him, innit? That's what I think Tuchel's saying to him, though.
I agree. I actually agree with that. I think one interesting thing about Ruben has always been, or kind of the reports that, unlike, say, the Tino Livramentos or even the Armando Brojas and the Mark Guehis, who tried to, what was first and foremost, the most important thing to them was making it, being a successful footballer. While I think I remember reading reports, I can't remember from when exactly, whether it was last summer or the season before, but basically that, of course, that's important to Ruben, but what mattered more to him was the specific thing of making it at Chelsea. Not just making it, but making at Chelsea, which is nice as a fan. He's kind of makes it like, well, he cares as much as we do, essentially. But at the same time, it also maybe shows kind of his problem a little bit, where he was, or I'm not 1,000,000% sure of this, of course, but it seemed like he was accepting, as long as he was allowed to be at Chelsea, he was okay with that, rather than taking that step of maybe he wasn't going to quite make it at Chelsea and then he wanted to make sure he will make it elsewhere. He was so happy to be at Chelsea that he didn't have maybe that determination. I think that's what Tuchel is pleading to, kind of to get that determination, to get that will out of him, because like Conor said perfectly, we all know that the ability is in there. Obviously, it's always a big question, how much did the Achilles injury hamper him? How much is it still in the back of his head? As much as he will say in any interview, it's not there anymore. But obviously that it's not always quite as simple. So, Pice, what was your reaction when it initially came out yesterday, I suppose? I mean, I'm not sure if you read the whole thing or if you only heard it now as well, like when I read it out. But what is your reaction to it, and what do you make of it?
Yeah, I didn't read the whole thing. I read snippets. Sent them to the WhatsApp chat, didn't I? I thought it was very interesting, actually. I think, like Con, it's him sending a message in public. And he also says in there they talk about it a lot anyway. So it's not like this is like behind his back. He's not approaching him, kind of thing. I think it's a great message. Honestly, I think everything he says there is just spot on, really. Ruben's always had the talent, no doubt about that. But he's getting on now. He's like 25, 26. He's not 22, 23 anymore. And I actually said this. I can't remember what game it was, but everyone on the panel was saying Ruben played so well, and I was like, yeah, he played well, but I think he can do more forward runs. Like, I'm still not seeing him drive with that ball like he used to. I'm still not seeing him fully believe in himself, and I think that's pretty much what Tuchel's saying here. Like, he needs to believe he can, push on now and be his old self, basically. He's like, I remember when Tuchel first joined, he actually was like, one of the players he bigged up most was Loftus-Cheek. He compared him to a Ballack. And we was like, oh, we might be seeing Ruben again. I remember it specifically. And all of a sudden, he's played really well twice. And I feel like Tuchel's like, he's a bit cautious, but he's getting a little bit excited again. He's like, Ruben's like this could be it for him. This is his make or break now. He's played 2 really good games, and he looks, like against Real Madrid, I was saying, how many times was he on the ball actually going, like, using his run, like using his power going forward? And I said he should have won quite a few fouls, and I was like, this is more like the old Ruben. So Tuchel's saying to yourself, believe in yourself, use your body, use your, physicality. Don't be scared of injuries, because I think it's also like Conte. It's now or never, really. He's playing a bit part role, but he's starting in an unfamiliar role. He's been playing a bit part role, but he's being trusted over, Saul Niguez, Ross Barkley, those sort of guys to play at the moment. And if he can continue
at times,
this,
he's even been trusted over Jorginho as a single
exactly,
six.
like, he's been playing lone six. Like, so this is the thing. Like, can you like this is it for you? You know what I mean? This is it now. You've got to carry this on, because he's saying, we've heard all this before. We've heard the talent. We've seen this before with Ruben, and then he ended up on loan or something. So, like, this is it now. Can you continue? Can you stay at Chelsea? It's like a public message. And if I'm Loftus-Cheek reading this, like I'd be spurred on by this because he has belief in Loftus-Cheek. That's not a doubt. It's just consistency, you know. Does he believe in his body enough still that he can go back to being his old self? Because I still believe he's got the ability to do that, and he showed signs of it against Real Madrid, albeit in an unfamiliar role.
I do agree. The one important thing, I mean, we'll get to our teams later, is Tuchel needs to now start him tomorrow, whatever the position may be, but he needs to start him tomorrow.
Didn't he say in there that he was starting again? I swear I heard him say the important thing is to do
Yeah,
it
he
3
basically
times
said
in
he
a
needs
row.
to now do it a third time. I'm not sure if he necessarily meant the next game, but probably. But that's what I'm saying. He needs to start him now. If he after saying this drops him, then that would contradict the whole thing. But because like, I completely agree with you, that must spur him on. And who was it in the chat a second ago? KB saying the word ambitious. That's the word I was lacking a minute ago. I mean, zigzag, you're just a hater. Get in the bin. But so that, like I say, he just needs to. I hope it spurs him on. Honestly, I hope it spurs him on. I do still find it a bit strange that if you believe in him so much, why do you keep changing his position? That's a bit weird. But anyway. I twist this to another player after we finished talking about this, but BJ, not sure if you had read any of this kind of message by Tuchel to Ruben before, but now that you've heard it, what's your reaction to it? Similar to the guys or slightly different?
I did read snippets about it, but yeah, not the full message. Thank you for reading it to us, first of all. First thing that I get out of this, I'm going to be a bit more pessimistic here. So apologies, guys, if there are RLC fans here. It's not that I don't want him, trust me. But there are very few players who are as physical as he is and can dribble the ball, the way that he does. So don't get me wrong. I'm not against Ruben Loftus-Cheek. But I look at this in two different angles. One is that, like what Pius and Con said, it's about providing that confidence to the player publicly, just by announcing this is his potential, this is what you can live up to, just go ahead and do it. Yeah, it's just spurring up the player. That's one side of it. But the other side of it is, it could also be this one, right? This is probably the right time for Tuchel to talk about Ruben Loftus-Cheek, because if he is not going to be in his plans in the next year, right, this is the right time for him to give him a good set of runs and still talk about him in the media, so that towards the end of the season, towards the summer transfer window, he does go for a good fee. Right? I'm not saying this is a role of a manager. He doesn't have to do that. But again, it's just, if you look at it from, an organization's perspective, it's about hitting two targets with a single stone, right? So it could go either way, and he still emerges victorious. He either spurs up Ruben Loftus-Cheek and then he performs to the best of his capability, which will still suit Chelsea, or he's talked about his potential for a full 4 minute, which means that he is rating Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Maybe he doesn't suit his system of play. That's what is going to be talked about in the end of the season. And he still can go ahead and go to a different team for a very good value, because Tuchel rates him. So it's just the way that managers, talk about players. They're doing managerial stuff. So it could be either of it, but I think either of it is still a positive for Ruben. That's how he should be looking into it. If I were Ruben, I would definitely be trying my level best to look at it from the first perspective, which is like staying at Chelsea, giving all his ability, and then try to be retained by Chelsea. But if it goes the other way around, it will still be a good move because the gaffer rates him.
It does. I agree. I mean, for Ruben, it's kind of, Ruben is in if he just only does even okay from now, the likelihood that Tuchel will happily keep him in the squad as kind of the same role that we signed Saul for, but then in the end didn't even use and used Ruben for instead mainly, I think it's very likely. I don't think Tuchel will be here. Yeah, I don't need Ruben. I think he'll be like, well, he can play wingback, he can play 6, he can play 8. I mean, Conte played him at striker. So I don't think it's a player that Tuchel will, even if things don't go amazingly for the rest of the season, even then I don't think Tuchel will be like, well, get rid of him. I personally don't see that. But a question I will pose to Pies now. Now, this is said about Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Do you fear at all that in 2-3 years' time, we could be sitting here having similar discussions about Callum Hudson-Odoi? Because I feel like their come up has been very similar. Of course, Callum is much younger, so has the potential to do it exactly where Ruben failed. Callum has the potential to do it exactly right then. But Callum, similar to Ruben, was always by far the best in his age group. Not even just at Chelsea, like basically in all of England. And then they make it to the top level. They make it to the professional team, and they're good, but they're not quite there. Then they keep getting injured. I mean, Callum didn't used to be particularly injury prone until the Achilles injury, but since then he's been injured very often. Obviously now, very unfortunately, started with an Achilles problem. Now it's a back problem. How does that even happen? I don't know. But do you fear that at all? Or are you confident that Callum can avoid a path that unfortunately Ruben has been on recently, which we hope he can step off of? But do you fear that it could turn into a similar direction?
It's an interesting debate to be held. I think definitely Callum is... How old is he now? Is he 22, 21?
I think he's 21 only, yeah.
21. He's still very young. So, yeah, he definitely has more years to get consistency at Chelsea, but I am worried with him having this recurring injury to his Achilles at 21. That's not a great sign, especially when you're an attacker and you rely on a lot of sprints. So, yeah, I think a lot of you guys noticed as well. I seem to think he dribbles a lot less compared to what he used to. So, I personally think it's just him adapting his game and being more smart with the ball and choosing better options. But it's something I'm going to be keeping an eye on when he does come back into the team, for sure. I think you've certainly got a point. Definitely. I mean, it could go this way. You know, he could be just year after year, kind of plays well, but, you know, is on the bench, you know, comes on, has a little good period. And then by the time he's 24, 25, could be the same as Ruben, for sure. But I don't know. I just think with Callum, I think if he goes on a loan to another league, I think, especially like the Bundesliga, I think he'll smash it there, honestly. And I think he probably would end up
if
getting
I can
sold.
just interject there before you move away from the whole loan thing. For me, the problem is now it's too late for a loan. To me, I know you've said that a few times over the last maybe year, but I feel like it's too late for a loan now. Like, he was at 18, handing in transfer requests, getting in the end then a huge contract, and then playing in the team reasonably regularly under Lampard at times, under Tuchel at times. I think that the loan ship has sailed, don't you?
No, I still think he's young enough to go out on loan. I don't think he's...
But he's on too high a wage to go on
Like,
loan. That's what I'm thinking. Like, who will pay that?
Well, I think there could be something worked out there for sure. I mean, Callum said himself he was about to go out on loan last season to... Was it Dortmund?
But Chelsea said no, probably for that very reason. But I don't know. Obviously, Dortmund probably would have asked us to pay some of the wages, which is a problem in and of itself. But sorry, go on. I interrupted you.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's too late to go on loan for him. But the injuries are concerning me because, like, when you're young and the position he plays in, it's like, it's not good. Like, his Achilles, he's had back problems. It's definitely not great because I think as well with, like, sim with Pulisic as well, like, he's definitely lost speed for his injuries. So, you know, we'll see. It's still early days, but you do have a point. If seasons go by, a couple more seasons go by where he's kind of in the same position, for sure, could end up selling him, loaning him, whatever. Because the one thing I do know is, like, the club have always rated him very, very highly. So, that's he's like one of the only youngsters that never went out on loan. So
exactly.
That's
and it was a bit like that with Ruben, wasn't it? Because Ruben was about 21, 22 by the time he went on his first loan to Palace.
That's because they've always been rated very highly, and they thought
exactly. That's why
they could just stay in the team. Yeah, they could just stay in the team. So yeah, it's a good point to bring up. But, like, I think I'll be able to give you more of an answer in maybe like in 2 years' time. I think 2 years maybe.
For sure. I will pose that question to Conor as well. I just saw that message by Texas Blue earlier, and I thought it's a good point. Lots of times coaches say this kind of stuff about one player, but really mean it about a few others as well. I think Loftus-Cheek situation goes for a few others in the squad. Not maybe necessarily specifically, but a few parts of what he said 100%. Because this whole not trusting themselves, not believing in themselves, I think that goes for a lot of players in our squad, and I think I mean, RD keeps going on about Pulisic in the chat. I mean, one of the things that I feel with Kai is that Kai has had a switch where he does believe in himself in England now. Because you see it with everything he does. You see it. He's happy to take on players. He's happy to take shots. He's happy to go one-on-one physically against bloody... Who was the guy that he elbowed in the face against Newcastle? Dan Burn. Do you know what I mean? Like he's not scared. He's not intimidated. He's happy to do things. While Pulisic, to me, is the opposite. I'm not sure if it's because of the injuries, but he's not... He doesn't seem confident in dribbling. He doesn't seem confident in his own body. That's why he's so slow, because I don't think he's physically incapable of running faster. I mean, maybe he is. That's super depressing if it is. But I feel like it's still not trusting his hamstrings, probably. I mean, maybe I'm miscalculating the situation, but I mean, if you're a Pulisic fan and you think he couldn't run fast and it's nothing to do with the hamstrings, then that's even more concerning, because that would mean he's genuinely gotten this slow. And I mean, Valverde ran rings around him. Like Valverde ran a whole 2 kilometers while Pulisic ran 2 meters, is what it felt like. But this isn't only Pulisic. I think this goes for a fair few players in the squad where this kind of logic can be applied. But Con, do you fear at all that Callum Hudson-Odoi could end up in a similar situation to Ruben Loftus-Cheek in a few years' time?
Hopefully not. I hope Chelsea have learned, from the Loftus-Cheek sort of situation, and they get him on loan next season. You say you think the ship sailed for that, but I don't agree with that at all. Gallagher is 22 years of age and he's having a great loan. I get what you're saying, that he was like a first teamer at points. He's been in and out of the side, but I think a loan's good. He needs to play like 90 minutes week in, week out. You don't get that at Chelsea. He's never really had that at Chelsea. It's not like it's a Pulisic we're going to be sending out along, who's played, been an important player for us. He's a player who's had some game time, inconsistent game time. He's been used at right wing back. He's been used here. And I think at his age, it's a good time for him to go on the loan. A Bundesliga loan like price, I'd be up for that. And I think it was Dortmund who was close to taking him on loan, wasn't it? But Tuchel said he wanted him here. So the wages, I don't think there'll be an issue. Especially because how universally rated he is outside of Chelsea to clubs, at least. Because it seems like clubs around Europe rate him highly. So I think they'll jump at the chance to try to take Hudson-Odoi on loan. I don't fear him ended up like Loftus-Cheek though, and we don't even know how Loftus-Cheek's going to end up yet. So far, it hasn't been the greatest, but he could still turn it around. He could move somewhere else and absolutely do wonders. He could stay here and flop. He could go somewhere else and flop. We don't know the story of Loftus-Cheek yet. Granted, he's not the young guy anymore that we once loved.
Yeah.
We still love him.
I meant more. Obviously, you're 100% right. We don't know where Ruben will end up, but as in, say when Callum is 25, so in 3.5, 4 years' time, could we be in a similar situation? But obviously, you're right. Ruben, in those very same 3.5, 4 years' time, could be, I don't know, for all we know, could be the main player at Chelsea. Unlikely, but, theoretically. Possibly.
In your dreams, maybe, bro.
In my dreams, bro. Let me dream. The only thing I question is both of you with the whole Bundesliga thing. Because... didn't we all agree, Bundesliga tax? Do you know what I mean? It's well and good if he does well there and he comes here. It's like, oh, shit.
I think it's confidence.
Yeah. Because
we need him.
Werner had confidence before we signed him. Where's that gone?
Well, I don't know. I think, especially with his dribbling and stuff, I just want to see him get back on the ball and believe in himself, for me. Personally, that's why I recommended Bundesliga, and also because of the links and stuff. If you put him in La Liga, he's just gonna it's such a disgustingly physical league. He'd probably get his ankles taken out in the first game. To be honest with you, Serie A maybe. Some of Chelsea players have done well over there.
No, it's too technical for him, I'd say.
I don't know. I think he's a very technically secure player, personally.
I don't think so.
And then France, I don't know. It's I don't know who he would go to there. So. I think Bundesliga
is the one that's too physical.
No, I wouldn't sleep on France though, because you look at some of the players that come out of there. It's a great development league. I know Bundesliga always gets the highlights because of the Haalands and the Sanchos, but you see the players who've come out of Ligue 1. It's a great league for young players to be in.
Oh no, I agree with that completely, 100%. I'm just not sure if we're going to send him on some sort of loan to give him confidence. I'm not sure if Liga is the place to go. At least, I mean, I'm not an expert in Liga. It's the of the top 5 leagues, the one I by far know the least about. But what your expert keeps going on about is that it's the most physical league, in his opinion, in all of Europe, more even than the Premier League. But the Premier League combines the physical nature with pace, and that's what the Liga doesn't do. But yeah, I mean, definitely, I think the Bundesliga would 100% help him. I think he would have a good time there. The question is, I think he would have such good a time there that he wouldn't want to come back, number one. Number two, I do think the wages would be a problem. They only wouldn't be a problem if Chelsea's willing to pay a good chunk of it. And I see what you're saying. And it's not because he's not rated enough for the wages. I think it's just, if people know, whoever we loan him to, we want him back after. They're
But
like, well,
bro, he was only...
If you multiply 120k a week by how many weeks is a season, like 40 weeks-ish. So you multiply that by 40. We're not going to pay that to a guy who's going to be gone a season after. So that's where the wages become from. Not because it's too expensive, but because they're like, this is an investment and we don't even get anything out of it other than one season. But it's a tough one. Just to make it not too long.
If you just look at the links though, what came out in the summer, you'd see he was so close to going on loan. So I don't think the wages are a problem because that loan move was almost there for him. It's just the club said no. Everything was agreed, barring Tuchel.
Was it? Or was it just that Dortmund wanted him and we... Because I mean, I could be wrong.
I'm pretty sure Hudson-Odoi said he was close to leaving, but then he said if he did leave, then he wouldn't have won all these trophies. That's what he said in his interview, like a few weeks ago. I'm pretty sure.
No, I hear that. I'm saying, as in, were negotiations between Chelsea and Dortmund at any stage where they would have spoken about who pays how much of his wages? That's what I'm saying.
I think we probably would have covered like half or something because we do that quite a lot.
Which is mental. 60k for a player that's not even with us. Do you know how mad that is? That's why I think the loan's gone. But
well, I mean, it's the price you have to pay for giving a high contract to someone you rated, I guess.
I guess it's better than selling them and then putting like a 45 mil buyback in it, though, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, I mean, 2 years ago, or 1.5 years ago, we could have sold him for 75 million. Well, we could have loaned him with an option for 75 million. Who knows whether Bayern would have taken that up. Vijay, I do apologize. If you really have something important to say on this Callum Hudson-Odoi matter, shout in. But this doesn't take... Sorry?
I just wanted to quickly ask you this question, right? You said about the 60k that we pay for a player who might not be with us the following season. But in case we sell him, we still recuperate that money through the transfer fee that we get for the player, right? So why not? It's not an investment that we don't get back. We still would add that as part of the transfer deal the next season, if at all he's going out.
That is fair, but only if the plan is to sell him. What if it's not?
I mean, if we sell him, we'd still be able to cover this money as well as part of the contract, the transfer fee, right? So in essence, we are not making a dead investment, is what I'm thinking.
But we don't want to sell him. That's the problem. The club don't really want to sell him. So
yeah, but in that way, it's like, let's say he doesn't have the greatest loan spell. You could try to sell him in it, but if he does, I don't think the club will really care about that 60k a week. I'm going to be real. If you get a confident Hudson-Odoi, he's fairly talented. I think that's worth 60k a week, to be fair.
I mean, I hear that, but,
it's not our money, brother. It's not our money.
Someone else is a lot of money. Do you know what I mean?
Bro, we pay like Werner 270. Like, let's not.
Yeah. Compared to Werner, everything's cheap, but, Werner's Werner. But one last debate before we get into the team, which already took us way longer than I wanted. But Conor Gallagher. Funnily enough, another player that's out on loan who especially, weirdly, less so Patrick Vieira. Patrick Vieira seemed to be somewhat understanding of it. He just said Conor himself was quite frustrated. But the fact that Conor himself was quite frustrated, chances are, I don't know this for a fact, but chances are we're paying some of Gallagher's wages. How dare he even think that he can play against us? Get in the bin. Like, I love him and I want him to be back next season, but for this situation in itself, get in the bin. Who do you think you are? What do you mean? We're paying your wages and you think you're going to play against us? Are you mad? Get in the bin. Yeah, because a lot of people seem to be, or not a lot of people, some people seem to be upset that he's not allowed to play against us. And, they made this special request. Now, what I'm still unaware of, because it's also FA and Premier League rules that are not allowed to play against the parent club. But Tomori and Mount did play against us for Derby. So I'm not sure if it's different when they're in a different league or not. I don't know. But
that was also a special request, Laurenz.
Did they?
Yeah, it was a special request. And Lampard let them. I mean, not
Okay.
Lampard. Chelsea let them.
Yeah. But Lampard probably put in the request.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, there you go. But it was big difference that people say, oh, well, we allowed it for them, so why not about the other ones? Two differences here. Number one, much earlier round of the cup. Number two, a championship team is not the same as a Premier League team in the FA Cup semi-final. Not the same. Like I say, and Tuchel said it in a press conference as well, this was the terms that were agreed when the loan was signed. This was agreed by Crystal Palace, probably by the manager Patrick Vieira, by the player himself Conor Gallagher, by Thomas Tuchel, and by Chelsea. Just because you now miraculously made it to the FA Cup semi-final, we don't change the rules. Like, sorry. I mean, I found it funny how Tuchel said, yeah, we coincidentally just ran into each other in a restaurant. It's quite funny. Didn't think Tuchel and Gallagher had the same kind of preference in restaurants, but hey, there you go. And apparently, they spoke to him. He kind of even apologized for it. And I love that from Tuchel, and I like that. I think it's already good that he's kind of building this. He obviously had him in pre-season, but it's like showing him still that he still somewhat cares about him, even though he's out on loan. But still, I find it a little bit ridiculous that he even... I mean, I understand that he asked, but the fact that he was particularly upset by it is, I find, a bit, frankly, ridiculous. And that there is people that criticize Chelsea for it. Get in the bin. Vijay, I kind of held you out a little bit for the whole Callum stuff. So your thoughts on that?
No worries. I think I wouldn't read too much into this particular comment from Conor Gallagher. I think it's more of a sporting reason for him because he probably thought, okay, fine, I'm doing really great in the season. I think, if I get a chance like the Derby County players who got a chance, maybe I could probably test my potential against my parent club. He probably thought that, and he said that. He didn't expect that.
I understand it completely. Just being frustrated when we say no, I'm like...
I think he did not expect the kind of heat that Chelsea would get in the media if at all we don't allow Conor Gallagher in that situation. Maybe he didn't think that side of the story, and that kind of struck him later, and then he went again and apologized for it because, as a player, that was his thought initially. That could have been his thought initially. Maybe he didn't think about the parent club and what it could have meant for the parent club in the face of media. And that is something that he came to find out late. I think as a young player, these things are bound to happen for him. But he needs to be very careful when talking to media about these things going forward. That's what I think about it. But I'll not read too much into it. It's just a spur of moment. Someone asked him, and then he just responded the way that he would from a sporting sense.
Has he said anything to the media himself, or did just the request become public?
I am not sure. I just know the the context of it. I don't know how he actually expressed it. Was it through the media, or was it through?
I don't actually think it was through the media, but I still think you make a reasonable point. I think you make a good point in terms of that. He probably wanted to play just to make an even bigger name for himself, because what better way to play yourself into Thomas Tuchel's team for next season than by playing well against Thomas Tuchel's team? I understand it completely. And I mean, who was it here in the chat? I mean, HM said we should let Gallagher play. He needs experience. Maybe. But I'm not risking us going out and losing a FA Cup semi-final over some youngster needing experience. That's not how we should always put Chelsea first above anything and everyone. That's what I said when Hudson-Odoi requested a transfer request, put in a transfer request, and that's what I'm saying now. 4 years apart. Same, will never change. Con, your thoughts on that whole Conor Gallagher situation?
In my opinion, bro, it's not a situation. In his contract, he's not allowed to play. It's as simple as that. Just because you got there, mate, you can't change the rules then. It is what it is, brother. Like, people saying he needs experience. What do you think he's been doing all season? I'm sorry, like, this one game isn't going to, boost his experience massively, It's not the final, it's the semi-final, Gallagher, if he's certain he's going to make it at Chelsea and he wants a career here, you'll be in cup finals, bro. Don't worry. It will happen for you. Just, it's not going to happen this time. It's in the contract. You agreed to it. Theo agreed to it. Chelsea agreed to it. It's just what it is, isn't it? It's like me saying, when I was younger, going to my mum, oh, can I have this toy? She says no. When it comes to Christmas, I don't have the toy. And I'm upset. Well, she said no. What do you think was going to happen, Like, it's dumb.
Yeah, what about Santa Claus, mate? I mean, Adash tried to mug me off here, saying I care more about Ruben than I do about Chelsea. That's not true, all right? don't be twisting my words. But I think actually, can you make a fair point? Yeah, it's not even a situation. The fact that it is a situation just shows the English media for you. Are we going to discuss Tammy Abraham next? Well, I would love to. Jester, maybe we will do that because I mean, it's at least in a European semi-final, unlike some other teams. Barcelona, how's that going for you? But Pice, is it a situation in your head? How do you feel about the situation if it is a situation?
It's not a situation for me. And I also feel like whoever said that Conor Gallagher was somewhat annoyed, I think they're idiots, to be honest. Of course, he's going to be disappointed, but I don't think he's going to kick.
Said that, to be fair.
Well, I mean, I think he's just trying to make a meal out of the situation, to be honest. Maybe by saying that Gallagher was angry or whatever, Chelsea would let him. I don't know whether that's the angle he was trying to take, but maybe not trying to upset their lone player kind of thing. Maybe he's trying to take that angle, but at the end of the day, of course, he's going to be disappointed. Semi-final at Wembley, but also like it's the contract, and also he's their best player probably. So this season, be interested to see if he wins Player of the Season for them because, bro, like Crystal Palace are not going to have the same energy in midfield without him. So
we saw that when we played the Metellus. It was a difficult game. They didn't have the energy they usually.
Yeah, it's definitely huge that he's not playing, and Gallagher should take it almost as if, this is like a good thing as well because it shows how much Chelsea rate him. So they don't want him facing against us as well. So, yeah, he's gonna, as Conor said as well. Like, it'll be disappointing from tomorrow when we play him, and obviously he'll feel upset and stuff that he's not involved and that he can't show Chelsea what he's got up and close. Because obviously there'll be loan reports and Tuchel watches matches, whatever. But up and close, it would have been great for him. But at the same time, like as Conor said, you're going to get in semi-finals, finals with Chelsea playing different cups. So, and it's not like he hasn't like got the gist that he's coming back next season. Like he's 100% coming back. And then as Tuchel said, whatever will be, will be. It will be a decision that club will make with him. So I don't really think there's much really to be made of it, to be honest, Laurenz.
There you go. Fair play. So let's get to the team for tomorrow. Now, for the time being, I've kind of lined up in kind of this weird mix of 3 at the back and 4 at the back that we've played in essentially the last 2 games, but in particular against Real Madrid. Actually, did that wrong. Against Real Madrid, it was more like so. Even if not fully, it was a bit more like so anyway. Actually, in the last game, Timo was up top on mostly, and Mount was kind of off the left, and Havertz was kind of here. Sorry, that's what it was like last game out-ish. I'm just trying to show people that's why on the ball, it's not for, I mean, we should push Alonso higher, and then Ruben here, and then Reece James here, and then Rudiger here. This is why we don't talk about what formation we play when we're on the ball, because it just looks like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's no formation. So anyway, Pice, I'll start back with you. Do you think we should play that similar system, or do you think we should, less funny business because there's no Vinicius Jr. to deal with and just put Reece James at right wing back and the rest is then a new discussion?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if we play a 3 at the back or we go attacking and play a 4 tomorrow. I do think we'll play a 3 at the back, probably. We'll get onto the positions. I don't want to start naming players. It's going to start naming the team then, but we're doing it one by one.
No, I see that, but not just fully the back 3, but as in, is Reece James for you the right wing back? Obviously, we'll get to right wing specifically again later.
Yeah, he is, because I think this is why I'm wondering if we're going to play a 4, because I think with Zaha, like Reece has done very, very well against him in every time they've played each other. So obviously, like if he plays right wing back, maybe it's like he might get caught out, Zaha on the break kind of thing, Reece going forward, but I don't know. Then you have the cover behind them. It didn't really work against Vinicius, but obviously Zaha's not Vinicius, so I don't know. Maybe you do play Reece right wing back. I'd start it off with him there and see how it goes.
Okay, going to be interesting where you would then put Ruben or whether you would not start him after what you said.
Oh, that's true actually. I forgot about Ruben. Oh,
Fair.
that's true. That's true because he's been playing there, hasn't he? And what Tuchel said. Oh shit, yeah. That's going to be interesting then.
It is. It will be interesting. I will let you ponder about it a little bit until we get back to the right wing back, right centre back positions. Con, for you, same formation that we turn up with against Madrid? Not necessarily same personnel, but same sort of mixed structure of 4-back, 3-back? Or do you think we should go and focus on one of the two?
No, I like this. I like that 3-4-back thing we did against Madrid. It's really good, isn't it? No, really good. So that's what I want to see, bro.
Makes sense, I mean, it doesn't really get much bigger than the Bernabeu, does it? So, if you did well in that there, why not somewhere else? Especially the fact that Madrid defended a lot anyway, so how's it really going to be so different? You're a funny guy. VJ, formation-wise, do you think we should be doing the same we did against Real Madrid? Or do you think we should be more structured in one of the two formations?
I think we should be going with the same formation. I don't have a problem with the formation. One thing that I'd be concerned about is Reece James playing at that right centre back, which I think we'll cover later, because I'm a bit worried about Tarek Mitchell. He's very pacey as well on that wing back, on that right back position for them. So that's one thing that I.
He's their right back, yeah, or their left back.
Their left back, right?
Yeah.
He plays in the left back.
I thought that, but I thought you said right back, so I was confused then.
I'm sorry. So I was. I'm more concerned about our right back because Michel is going to be there, and it's going to be difficult. Like Mount probably will be, just occupied covering Michel most of the time, because it's very difficult. The work rate needs to be at the maximum to work around Michel. So I think Reece James will support him better than Ruben Loftus-Cheek. That's the problem that I have right now. But I'll ponder over it, like how you said, to Pice. I'll come up probably with the three at the back, the names. But yeah, that's a bit of an issue I have, because I'm worried about Michel.
I hear that. Like Jester's put here in the chat, Mitchell and one other of their players, who I forgot it is in doubt. Who's the other one, Pice?
Elise, the forward.
There you go, Elise. Okay then. Now we already have one question to answer, and that is who starts in goal. Obviously, Kepa is usually a cup goalkeeper. In the Carabao Cup final, he then did not get to start the cup final. Of course, came on for penalties and then bottled it, but didn't get to start that one. But because this is the semi-final still, and we're also playing Crystal Palace, would you still go for Kepa? Then there's also, obviously, Vijay didn't watch the City-Liverpool game, but City played their second choice goalkeeper in Zach Steffen, the American, and well, he had an absolute stinker. I mean, he just didn't see. Well, he probably saw Mane coming, but I'm not sure if his life runs into slow motion, because he clearly didn't expect him to be there that quickly. I don't know what he was doing, and I also think he should save the Mane second goal personally. His near post, you shouldn't concede there. So now, obviously, that has kind of put an extra bit of doubt over whether you should play a second choice goalkeeper. But please, let's not be silly and compare Kepa to Zach Steffen. Like, yes, he's their second choice goalkeeper, and yes, Kepa is our second choice goalkeeper, but Kepa is way better than Zach Steffen in every sense of the word. So I don't think it's a completely fair comparison. But Vijay, for you, Kepa or Mendy in goal tomorrow?
Kepa. We're not playing Liverpool like Steffen, probably.
Sorry?
I said we're not playing Liverpool like Steffen, so we don't have to worry so much about it. So it's Crystal Palace. I'm not saying that, I'm not worried about Crystal Palace as much as I would be worried about Liverpool.
Yeah, there you go. And also, I mean, if Kepa doesn't play today, then he probably won't play another game, at least this season, and probably for Chelsea. So I don't know, give him another game, I reckon. Has he played a game since the cup final otherwise? Have you played a FA Cup game since the cup final?
No.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think we have either, So on that basis, I'm also fully going for Kepa, because I don't think we should let him have that be his last memory for Chelsea, him scoring that penalty in the final. So give him another one, please. Pice, Kepa for you, or do you think it should be Mendy?
I mean, to be honest with you, this one I'm just gonna back Tuchel, whoever he puts out in goal. For me personally, semis and finals, I always play the strongest goalie, but I do see the point of Mendy has been a little bit shaky recently. We have been discussing maybe he should have saved this, maybe he should have saved that. And we don't usually have those discussions with Mendy. So,
and he needed treatment against Brentford as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Was it against Madrid in the first day? I can't remember. But it was
Brentford, yeah. Brentford, yeah. And also Madrid, I think. Or was it Brentford? Brentford, he came off. Well, he didn't come off, but he went to the sideline, and there was
Yeah,
something
got
wrong with his
treated.
knee or something. Yeah, but I would start Kepa. Maybe an unpopular opinion. I did a poll, and 61% said Mendy. So interesting, but you know what? Give
That's
Kepa a
why
game.
these 61% of people aren't managers, because they don't care about the happiness of the players in the squad and what a big
Yeah,
difference that makes.
I think as well. Like Kepa's obviously missed the bloody penalty, but other than that, he's actually been alright this season.
Yeah,
Personally, I think
been
so.
good.
It's not like you're bringing in someone awful like Bettinelli. So I'll play Kepa. I would, but whoever Tuchel puts out, I don't really care. I'll trust both of them.
Fair, that makes sense. Before we get to Con, ladies and gentlemen, please do subscribe if you haven't already, and smash that like button. Con, Kepa or Mendy for you?
I'd start Kepa this game. Just like I mentioned it with Timo Werner. You do want to like give him a few games just so you know their price, so their sort of stocks just rise a little bit, because hopefully in the summer we can get rid of Kepa, get a bit of a fee for him, and we need to play him after that game where he skied the penalty. You know, we don't want that being that potential buyers like last game seeing Kepa at Chelsea. You know, so I'd start him because we need to give him a few games before the end of the season. I feel if we're going to offload him in the summer.
There you go. Also, what's just turned up on my phone? Bloody Marco Arnautovic just scored against Juventus. Who would have thought that? Eh? Someone just said in the chat, actually, we did play 2 FA Cup games since playing against Liverpool. So we were all wrong here. First one was against Luton. That was literally 3 days after the cup final against Liverpool. So Kepa played that one. But I think against Middlesbrough, it might have been Mendy, because Kepa then had the Rona at the time. So he didn't play the last cup game, actually. So against Middlesbrough, it was actually Mendy. But here we are. We've had a full house of Kepa. So let's move on to the centre-backs. Why don't I start with you, Pice? Just name me all 3. Why don't you?
Rudiger, Silva, and see, I was debating. Well, not debating this, but Alex Goldberg, who I was talking to earlier, put Chalobah in instead of Christensen. But then I thought, obviously, Reece James, Ruben. I'm going to put Reece James there. I'm going to give Ruben another start at wing back. It's just like I want to give Ruben the start at wing back, but then I feel like for me personally, if we did play Liverpool in the final, like Reece James has got such a threat going forward that I just think, does this take it out of him a little bit playing the right centre back? Yes.
It definitely does.
So it's like, you know, what do you do? Because I want to play Ruben, but I don't want to lose the attacking threat that Reece offers. So I don't know, you know. But I'll play Reece for this game at right centre back. It's just like I like Ruben in this role, but I don't, because then it hampers Reece. So it's like it's a sticky one for me, you know. I don't know.
I hear it. I mean, you'll hear what I have to say in a little bit as well. So, you know, let's see if that, I don't know, gives you a what is it? What's the word? Like can't think of it. Anyway, Con, back 3. What do you reckon? Same as Pies? Would you rotate it a bit more, considering obviously we've also got Arsenal coming up on Wednesday, and as much as Arsenal are in awful form, Arsenal are unfortunately very rarely an easy game for us.
In my mind, I was kind of thinking a Chalobah, Christensen, and Sarr back 3. Just to rotate a little bit. Silva needs a bit of a rest. I think Rudiger needs a bit of a rest as well. Played 120 minutes against Madrid. You know, you don't want to risk those guys. Sarr as well, need to play him a bit, just like with Kepa and Werner, just to get his value up a little bit. And Chalobah, it feels like it's been a minute since we've seen him, you know. And
I feel like since the cup final, has he played since then?
I don't
Maybe
think
once
so,
or
bro.
twice, but not often.
Yeah, I want him to come back in and show levels. You know, he's still a good player. He might have had a few dodgy performances, but I still believe him back, Trev. So I'd like to see him come back into the team.
And obviously, I'm kind of going a little bit ahead here, but does that mean Reece gets rested, or does that mean Reece plays right wing back for you?
I was thinking Asby, for just give Reece a little bit of a rest. It might sound like I'm really underrating Crystal Palace here, but yeah.
Fair. No, I hear it. I'll leave that on screen for now just to see what VJ goes for. VJ, what's your back 3? Do you, if at all, how much rotation do you think there should be?
I'm fine with Chalobah playing in that right centre back, and I think we're still missing that leadership in that back three when you mentioned them, like Christensen, Chalobah, and then Saar. That's the kind of issue I have with that. I probably would have at least Rudiger playing in that back three, and then probably have Christensen and Chalobah and play James at the wing back. That would be my back three: Rudiger, Christensen, Chalobah, and then James up top.
Okay, interesting. Now, my back three would be similar. I would keep Rudiger in there as the one. I think Thiago, give him a rest. Now, he played way too many games before that anyway. Played 120 against Madrid. Again, we've got Arsenal Wednesday. So I would play Christensen as the central centre-back itself. And I would play neither Chalobah nor Reece James. I would play Aspie here. Seems like that is what I need to put down now. I would play Aspie here because, like Con, I do think Aspie needs to play. But on the basis of what Tuchel said in this press conference, I think this must be Ruben because he's never going to play two better games probably for this club. So when and then after playing well against Real Madrid, does he get another start? Chances are it'll be average tomorrow, and then we'll play Reece James at wing back against Arsenal. I just don't want to play Reece because last time we overplayed him, he got injured again. Now, we already rested him at Brentford, only brought him on. No, not Brentford, Southampton, my bad. And then he played 120 minutes against Real Madrid. I don't really want to play him tomorrow, if I'm honest, because don't really want to risk another injury to the poor guy. So that's why I'll pick Ruben here. I'm not, because we've gone so different, other than Con being the only one who shouted Saar. Not really sure who I need to put down. I guess I can still put like RJ, but here, whatever, like, I don't know. So we have all the options in there. But yeah, like I said, I would go Rudiger, Christensen, and Aspie. I think that's, I don't know. It's a little bit of rotation, but not too mental because, like I said, it's still an FA Cup semi-final. So I don't want to overdo it and like change the whole back three, especially if we're changing the goalkeeper as well. The only and the reason why Aspie and not Chalobah for me is because I want to keep it that mix of back three and back four. And I think with Aspie, that's way more easily possible to do than with Chalobah. It's not a normal base right centre back. So that's why, for me, it takes Chalobah out of the equation, really, for that position, meaning it makes it between Aspie and Reece James. I want to rest Reece James, hence why Aspie. After, obviously, Pies, we made you go first, and you kind of stuck to the main back three. After what everyone said, are you surprised that all of us wanted more rotation? Or in hindsight, would you actually say maybe you should have thought of a bit more rotation as well?
Well, I mean, it's definitely something to think of. I completely forgot about Aspie, to be fair, because he didn't play at all against Real Madrid, and I don't think he wouldn't play this game. You know what I mean? Like, it's not very often that Aspie's kind of doesn't play back to back, you know, or is left out back to back. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely a hard one because usually, you know, with Ruben taking up the right wing back spot, if you think he's going to play there and kind of do that hybrid role he's been taking, that leaves you kind of four options actually for right centre back. Unless you then obviously rest Silva, play Christensen, then it's still three options for the right centre back. So, I mean, I don't know. It's very, very hard to pick a back three. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. I'm not sure. Maybe for me personally, I would put Aspie on the left wing back side because Alonso played 120, I want to say, against Real Madrid, and I don't see him playing Saul or Kennedy or Saar. So yeah, I'd probably put Aspie left wing back, which makes my choice easier, I guess.
Okay, interesting one. Obviously, a couple of people in the chat, I'm not sure if it's just Jester or a few other people as well, keep saying, why can't Ruben just play midfield? I mean, I guess he could, but if he plays in midfield, depending on who he plays with, he will be the one that sits again, and then people will complain again. And I don't really want people to complain. So that's why I want to play him there, where he seems to thrive arguably better than in this sixth role that Tuchel keeps forcing him into for whatever baffling reason. So that's why there. But hey, if you want to play, I don't know, Ruben and Cover, Ruben and Jorginho probably be okay. Georgie sits, Ruben goes. But okay, Aspie Wingwick's an interesting one. But does that, in your eyes, keep Ruben as this position, or would you still stick to your Reece here and then play? I know you played Aspie here, or would you then play Reece here and Chalobah here? Because obviously, if Reece James plays right wing back, then Chalobah at right centre back is obviously a perfectly valid option.
Well, I would probably go with Rudiger, Silva, and Christensen. But then again, I kind of think that's just me. Like, I think semi-final is a big game. I kind of want to play a strong team, but I'm up for Chalobah as well. I just think, I don't know, because I'm thinking of Arsenal as well. Like, no,
That's why I think Silva can't start tomorrow.
Yeah, I see your point, but then again, I think this is probably more of a like. Even if we drop points against Arsenal, it's like, it's not too much damage to what we're trying to get.
Bro, but you remember what you said in the chat the other day? You said playing Arsenal like
No, it is, it is like emotionally. But if we do drop points, obviously I'll be pissed off. But it's kind of like you look at it like, what game would you rather drop points in or lose? It's obviously the Arsenal one for me because I want to get into another cup final. So. Oh, fuck it. I don't need to decide on a back three, to be honest with you. I don't know. It's too much like what ifs and what you prioritise.
But who's the right wing back though? Is it Ruben or is
Ruben?
it
I play Ruben there for sure. Because I think you just have to, even if you put Reece back in there against Arsenal, I think you have to keep Ruben on the momentum going. And you guys make a good point. Maybe you do rest Reece because injuries and whatnot. Played against Real Madrid, very, very demanding game, obviously against Vinicius as well. So I see your guys' point. It's actually one of the hardest lineups I think I've done this season, just based on what's coming up and the amount of options we seem to have, and obviously Ruben's inclusion. Now it's very hard.
It is. I agree, actually. BJ then, 2 wing backs. Pice went for a slightly rogue shout and playing Aspie at right wing back and left wing back, considering we're playing a lesser side. Not to be disrespectful, but obviously he takes a little bit of our attacking threat away if we play Aspie there. So which would be your wing backs? You mentioned already there, Reece James would be your right wing back. Are you sure you want to play him again after 120 and considering that 120 was only his third start in 2022?
Yeah, I wouldn't be overly cautious when it comes to Marcos Alonso, because it's not, even if he plays for 500 minutes together, you know what you get out of Alonso. So he still can play. It's not that he gets very tired and stuff. I mean, he's one of the most consistent
he doesn't
players.
run very fast, does he? So
yeah, exactly. So it's not that he's going to get so tired and all of that. And I think he would be marking Ayew in this game. If they play a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3, depends. But Ayew is not a very quick player to mark either, so it's fine if Alonso plays there. So I'm going to go with Alonso on that left wing back and Reece on the right side, like I mentioned earlier as well. But before I complete this, I just wanted to call out something. Laurenz gave a bit of a headache today to Pius that he's going to lose sleep with all these selections today.
I've got a headache. I'm trying to think what I want. I don't know.
I do apologize.
He forgot Aspie and RLC existed in the team. All that questions that you asked.
True. First you forgot Ruben and then you forgot Aspie.
Especially Aspie, because he was just like doing this almost like a team leader role. Obviously, just like the captain's role, really. And against Real Madrid, he was warming up for I swear he warmed up in the first half, and then the whole of the second half, an extra time, he's just standing there.
That's why the whole reason he did that is so he's closest to the pitch and shout at the players.
Yeah, he was going crazy. So I don't know. I think he probably plays this game,
Yeah, no, I'm pretty confident he plays. I'm not sure where, but if it's predicted 11, I'm 100% sure he does play. Now, Con, Aspie Alonso on the left. Or Saul, I suppose.
Aspie Alonso. Aspie on the right.
Right wing back.
Yeah, Aspie right wing back, Alonso left wing back.
Bloody hell, boys! You're making things difficult for me with space here today.
We literally have everyone on the pitch today.
Yeah, we're just we're sat here doing a formation where we're gonna have all 25 players here. The only one missing is Mendy and Bettinelli. But yeah, myself, I've obviously explained the Ruben one. I hear what Jester said about the playing him in midfield. But if we want him to do what Thomas Tuchel went on about in the press conference, then you need to give him some sort of continuity. And if his problem is confidence, then putting him in, then playing him where he played really well for 2 games now, and the manager told him he's played really well. He's probably self-aware that he played really well. It's probably easier for him to do that now than it is to play another position where, if, like I said, confidence is his problem, he maybe has more self-doubt again. That's why I would leave him out there. And yeah, I'd stick to Alonso. Like, did Alonso even play against Southampton? I don't even remember. He probably did.
Yeah, he did. He scored, didn't he? The first goal.
There you go. Good shout. But he didn't play the first leg against Real Madrid, at least. But I also feel like on the basis of Alonso doesn't play well that often. Similarly to Ruben, he's had 2 good games now. So on that basis, I would keep playing him. But then obviously there is the debate to be had. Do we not need to also play him against Arsenal? I don't know. There was also someone in the chat made a fair shout. Obviously, it's 5 subs in the cup, so maybe we can bring a Saul on for Alonso or an Aspie, shift it and bring Chalobah on and then put Aspie at left wing back if we say go 2-0 up, 3-0 up or whatever. Obviously, hopefully, but who knows? Now then, the midfield. If Ruben is taken out of it, I would probably. I don't even know, man. I'd probably pick Kovacic and Jorginho. Not necessarily because Kante made the mistakes against Real Madrid, more because Kante played 4 games in a row. Brentford, Real Madrid, Southampton, Real Madrid. Played all 4. Obviously was subbed off against Real Madrid, but still. So hence why I think Kante very bad and needs a rest. Again, this is not predicted 11, so there's a chance Tuchel starts him anyway. But yeah, this is probably the midfield I'd pick. Is it the midfield you pick as well? Would you rotate it even more?
I'd go with Jorginho and Loftus.
Okay.
I just don't want Kante or Cover starting this game because they looked hella leggy versus Madrid, and they're both susceptible to getting injured. So I don't want to take that risk. If we need to bring him on, but don't take the risk off the bat.
Okay. It's a fair shout. I hear it. BJ, what about you? What's your midfield too?
I'd go with the same, Jorginho and Ruben Loftus-Cheek. One thing that I'm a bit concerned about Crystal Palace is their midfield because they've got a very physical midfield, if I can put it that way. Hughes, Jeffrey Schlupp, and also I believe it was Idris Kouyaté, right? So these guys are very physical in nature. It's very difficult to defend against them. Like people like Kovacic, they just push him off very easily off the ball. Only thing that he can probably do is like move around, like be pacey around them, which might not be successful always. So I think having Ruben Loftus-Cheek there makes a lot of sense. Jorginho is someone I had to pick because if at all we need that sort of a horizontal pass to control the game a bit. Maybe Jorginho would be useful. And since we cannot play Kovacic and Kante has played like 4 continuous games, like you mentioned, I had to go with Jorginho. Otherwise, Jorginho wouldn't have been my natural choice. But Ruben, though, was considering the midfield of Crystal Palace.
I hear that. My only minor, I would almost like to see that happen, the Ruben Jorginho combination. The only thing I'd be a little bit worried about is Jorginho is obviously pretty immobile, very slow. And Ruben probably doesn't quite have because he hasn't played in the advanced of the 2-6 roles. I'm not sure if he quite has Jorginho and Ruben were quite well against West Ham. When on earth did we play against West Ham? That's ages ago. But I'm not sure if he quite has the discipline and also the awareness to get back to where Georgie needs him. That's the only thing I'm a little bit concerned about. Hence why I picked Cover. Obviously, Cover played a lot. Ruben played a lot. But I'm personally not too worried about the last game other than for Reece and Thiago. Thiago's age, Reece's injury so far this year. Because we played Tuesday. The next game Sunday. So I'm not particularly concerned about when the last game was. I don't think that matters all too much. I think we have plenty of time between the 2 games for every player. But yeah, for me, Ruben is on the right anyway, so couldn't really pick him in midfield, could I? So then, Pice, you picked Ruben on the side, so you can't pick Ruben in the middle unless you change your mind about right wing, which of course you can if you want to.
I can't do this, bro. I'm struggling. I can't do this. I might just have to leave the stream at this point. I don't know. I might change my mind again. I'm just like, what is this shit? It's like, I think this is the first ever stream I've been so indecisive. like as VJ said, yeah, he makes a great point. Their midfield is so physical that you almost do need Loftus-Cheek in the middle. And then maybe because you play Loftus-Cheek and Jorginho, and maybe because of the less of the forward threat that you would have if you play Kovacic, then maybe Reece James kind of like balances that out on the right wing back, and he kind of is like one of our main outlets. I don't know.
Obviously, you got to remember, if we actually do play the same system, Ruben isn't a full-on right wing back and comes into midfield anyway.
Yeah,
So the
I
whole
do get that
needing
as
him
well, but
physically, he can help the midfield regardless.
I do get that, and I guess if Mount plays, he kind of drops back in as well usually. So, not sure whether I want to play cover. I think Wednesday to Saturday's worse. So I think I will stick Kovacic in, just because again, semi-final and all that huge game.
Mind you, we play tomorrow, so it's Sunday, Wednesday.
Oh, yeah, that's true. So I think as well, someone made a good point. We have 5 subs in this FA Cup, so you can always sub someone off sort of 60, 70 minutes if we get the game done, and maybe it's 2-0 or whatever. So I'll go with Kovacic and Jorginho, but obviously they're going to get help from obviously and probably Mount as well if we need it.
Ideally. Oh, I mean,
Yeah.
ideally, we don't even need the help, I suppose.
Yeah, Kovacic and Jorginho, because as well, Wembley's a big pitch, 2 technical players, move the ball about, forward line breaking passes. Hopefully it works.
There you go. Let's move on to the front three then. Some people in the chat have already been talking about Hakim Ziyech. So on that very note, VJ, does Hakim Ziyech start in your front three, and who fills the rest of the other 2 spots?
You know what? Wrong person to ask this question. For me, Hakim Ziyech always starts. But I mean, considering this is Wembley, and you want someone who can run a lot and find spaces, I'd prefer Mount to start on the right side.
Okay. And no, you can already tell me all 3.
All 3, is it? Okay, fine. I'd go for. I mean, Lukaku apparently has come back fit, but would I want him on the team sheet tomorrow? Not really. I'd probably go for Kai Havertz to play up top. He's been having a good run of form. I wouldn't want to break that momentum. This is another big match, and Kai Havertz is always effective against teams when it comes to bigger games. So I'd probably have Kai Havertz playing up top, along with Timo Werner.
Would it then be a clear 3-4-2-1, or would it be more of a 1-2 and you kind of play these 2 up top like this?
It really depends on how
what we did against Madrid, I guess.
Yeah, I think it really depends on how Tariq Mitchell, right? Am I getting his name right? Mitchell. Right?
Yeah, Mitchell.
Yeah, I think it really depends on how Mitchell operates on that flank.
He might not play, by the way.
If at all he does. Otherwise, it would be Adiramola, is it right? That's the guy, right? The other one.
You ask me questions, mate, that I don't have the answer
to. FA Cup, they generally prefer Adiramola or Mitchell. They kind of rotate between. But I don't think so. He is that much of a threat. But if Mitchell doesn't play, he probably plays. And if that is the case, then you probably can have, you don't have to have Mount coming back to support and all that. I'd still have Mount up top, a proper 3-4-3, Werner on that left flank, Mount, and Kai Havertz up top, one that you had earlier. But if it is Mitchell, I'd be a bit more cautious. Mount has to drop deep to support the wing backs.
Okay. For me, it's not necessarily a case of necessarily anything to do with the opponent. Am I muted? No. When I play front, it's more to do that Werner is more comfortable, so. And arguably Mount is more comfortable, so. I would, hazard a guess that he might be, or off the left, off the right, doesn't really matter. But yeah, I leave it like this for now because you were the first one to go. Why don't Pice? I let you go last time. So why don't you go second this time? What do you think? What's your front three?
I'm just saying this.
Looking?
I'm just gonna say this first off. I think Lukaku starts one of the next 2 games. You guys keep talking about resale value and stuff for other players. I don't think we can discount that, especially if the club want to get rid of him in the summer or whatever. He wants to move. I think he needs to start playing some games. Havertz can't play every single game, so I'm going to put Lukaku up top in this game and play Havertz on Wednesday.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Remember that one game that dropped Lukaku essentially?
Yeah, I know it was Palace.
Was
I know
against
he played
Palace.
shit. I know. I did think of that. It was bad, but I don't know. I kind of think if this is one of the two games I want to play him in, it's probably this one against the weaker opposition. Although Crystal Palace did beat Arsenal, but you get what I mean. Harder opposition on paper is generally Arsenal. So I just think he's going to play as well. So that's why I'm putting him in. And then on the left-hand side, I'm going to have... I wanted to put Werner, but then I remember every time they've played up top together and it kind of makes it 2 and Mount drops back, they kind of played bad. So I might put Pulisic there, and give him a game.
If it's Lukaku, that's maybe a shout, yeah?
Yeah, Pulisic on the left, and then I'm playing Mount on the right. Probably won't happen, by the way. It's just... It probably will be Havertz and Werner. Yeah, it's just what I would pick.
There you go. Con then. What's your front three? We've had 2 very different shouts now, other than Mason Mount being the constant, and probably the chat. I haven't seen it in a second because I'm on the lineup screen. Probably the chat being absolutely fuming at us for not picking Ziyech so far. So, Con, will you pick Hakim Ziyech?
Yeah, my front three, because I do want to rotate. I want it to be Ziyech, Lukaku, and Pulisic.
My man wants to rotate a lot. I mean, if we do it, I just hope it doesn't backfire. And if we don't do it, then... then
the thing is, bro, I have PTSD. Bro, I have PTSD from this season with players just getting injured. Like, there's been times when I'm like, why are these guys playing and they've got injured? Lukaku, Werner being 2 of them in that Champions League game, And I just have a horrible feeling that if some of these guys who played a lot in Madrid play, they might get injured, and I've just got PTSD. So I just want to rotate, bro. I might have been a bit extreme with it today, but I still think that team in my head is good enough to beat Palace. Of course, they beat Arsenal, fair play to them, but Arsenal are arse, Like, they lost 1-0 to the team we pumped 6-0 last week. So I'm not reading too much into that. They're decent, but, if they ain't got an EC, I ain't really scared, to be honest.
I hear that. I just took Aspie off the screen because I realized, okay, when it's 3v1 for one player, then we'll just put the one down. Otherwise, this gets too clustered, which it was 4 Alonso on that side, but these 2 was 2 Chalobahs, was it? 1 Reece, 1 Aspie? I don't even remember. Now, my front three, I had the same thought as Pies in terms of Lukaku will and needs to play some games. For me, just because he's struggling for confidence anyway, play him against the team that everything started with, play him against Arsenal. Last time played Arsenal was fantastic. I mean, we thought we were going to win the league. We thought we had the best striker in the league. Do you know what I mean? Like, how times have changed. But maybe playing Arsenal brings that Lukaku out of him again. Also, the one thing Lukaku can't do is run. I mean, he can run fast, but not move and have movement and distance covered. So Wembley is probably the last pitch I want to play Lukaku on, if I'm being perfectly honest. So I'd play Lukaku against Arsenal. As weird as that sounds, why would you drop Havertz against Lukaku? Just like Pai said, Havertz can't play every game. Lukaku needs to play some games. And it also gives him a couple of more days to get fully fit after his little injury. Hence why, for me, Wednesday. Therefore, Havertz tomorrow. I'll stick with Timo Werner. For Arsenal, it's a new debate. Maybe then we talk about Pulisic, depending on Timo Werner's performance tomorrow. Now, I would be okay if Ziyech starts here. I would pick Mount just, but I'd be perfectly happy if it is Hakim Ziyech. Meaning I will leave him up on screen, even though only one person picked him, but just because I'm kind of on the edge, I will leave him up on screen. But yeah, I mean, each their own, I suppose. So much rotation for a semi-final. TT ain't doing this for sure. Probably makes more subs if we win the game early. I mean, it's not that much rotation. It's a little, depending on which of the, slashes you pay attention to, I suppose. But, I mean, we're as a collective, we think Rudiger starts. As a collective, yeah, we think Thiago gets rested, but that's kind of the main one other than... but Kante needs a rest anyway. Like, for Kante, it doesn't matter the size of game. You could argue that on the basis of the last 4 games, he was kind of average to shit in all 4 of them. So You know, this is not necessarily rotations. It's just don't play. And on the right, it's just should we play Reece? Should we not? It's a tough one. It's a tough one to call. I have not realized we've been streaming for this long. I do apologize. So let's wrap this up. Score predictions. Why don't I go with you first, Pies? I made it so difficult for you with the lineup, so I'll make it a bit more simpler. And let you go first for the predicted score prediction.
Again, I don't usually like tomatoes until I see the team, but I'm going to go with 4-1 Chelsea.
Well,
I think we're going to score a lot. Yeah,
that'll be fun. I'd be a big fan of that. VJ.
I'm going to go with the 2-0 Chelsea. Goals from Timo Werner and Mason Mount.
Be good. Con?
3-0 Chelsea. Pulisic getting the score sheet.
I know, you started him. There you go. I will say, just so I'm not boring, I will agree with Mr. Showtime here. I'll say 3-1. I mean, I would love the 4-1 by Pies. I'd rather win 4-1 than 3-0. I know people disagree with this. I know Mr. Jose Mourinho would disagree the most with it. It's probably even Tuchel would disagree with this heavily. But yeah, it's just more fun, isn't it? So that's why I'm going to say 3-1. But I hope for the 4-1. 4-0. Why not? Ladies and gentlemen, I do appreciate every single one of you that has tuned in today. Big shout out to all three of my wonderful guests. The links to all of their socials are down in the description. Pice's website, check that out, chelseafc365.com. Check out Con's Twitter, of course. And please do subscribe to VJ's YouTube channel. As you can see on screen, it's called Sportswire. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to leave it here. Hopefully to qualify to the FA Cup final tomorrow against Crystal Palace. I'll see you then. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea, upwards and onwards. And I'll see you next time.